Hi there, Kate Mackenzie here with my podcast interviewing today Richard O'Brien, the most amazing and divine human being. He is talking to us about kindness, about creativity, about how his show, Rocky Horror Show, has been on every single day since it first came out in the world. Somewhere in the world that show is playing. And how he's really learnt to accept himself as a trans being and for who he really is, and to come to terms and to love himself as he is. But as he said, that kindness really is the most important thing. What are we doing for others? How are we serving others? So I hope you enjoy the interview. I certainly did, and look forward to hearing what your thoughts are.
The world now.
Brilliant. Oh, so wonderful. I am so excited to be today with the most amazing Richard O'Brien. Thank you so much, Richard.
That's very kind of you.
And it's so exciting, Richard, because you are somebody who has made it huge in the world, and anywhere in the world, your show, Rocky Horror Show, is playing every day.
This is true. But you say I've made it huge, well, that's not necessarily true. I've had some small successes in my life, and I'm very grateful for them.
What would you call your small successes?
Well, Rocky was a small success. Crystal Maze was a small success. Being allowed to be me is a small success. So I have had some successes, and I'm very grateful for all of it. Yeah. So how do I feel about it? I feel that actually that I'm the luckiest person in the entire world. I can't think of anybody that is luckier than me. I'm sure there are, but I can't think of them.
That's so wonderful. May I ask you, what enabled you to be so free? Were you always so free? Were you born free and you just carried on that way, or did you?
No, I lived inside my head for so long, because being transgendered is a card that you're dealt, and you don't know how to deal with it, because society doesn't allow it. If a girl is 5 years old and she's a little tomboy, they go, "Oh, she's a little tomboy," you know. But if a boy is slightly more girly, you go, "Oh, I think we've got a problem there." It's all negative. It's misogynism, basically, isn't it? If you move towards the male condition, that's more empowering. If you move towards the female nurturing side of life, that's you've diminished yourself in the eyes of society, because misogynism rules. And so you shut down. I shut down when I was about 6.5. Lived inside my head for most of my life, and so I was always quietly watching the rest of the world and not really becoming part of the world, joining in with groups and people, because I was always felt as if I was a fraud inside. So I just kept very quiet to myself and became internalized, and actually it all becomes rather obsessional, because it's a daily factor in your life, and the obsessional factor of that diminishes being in life, because you never get kind of over it. And then, you know, sooner or later you wake up and you say, I'll give you a perfect example of this. Is gay young men today are allowed to be gay young men today. And it's something rather exciting about that. They're allowed to say, "I'm 15 years of age, I'm a gay man," you know, and I'm free. Once upon a time, in my lifetime, that was never allowed to be said. It was a prison sentence, in fact, if you were caught in a situation which was not deemed to be, you know, polite in society. So all that's changed, but it hasn't quite changed for those of us who want to be grown-up, intelligent human beings interacting on a social level with people, and yet you still feel you're hiding the side of you away that you feel to some extent is a kind of perversion. And it's not a perversion, it's become perverse, and it's become hidden simply because society wasn't able to deal with it. And now I got to the point where I went, it's what I am by default. I didn't ask for this. And actually, if I hadn't been this way, I would never have written Rocky Horror. And so I've got to be grateful for some of the things that it's given me, but also the pain over the years and the failure in marriages and all that kind of stuff as due as a result of this hidden kind of side of myself. And I got fed up with also the madness, the insanity of being schizophrenic. You know, I'll put a frock on and I'll be a girlie now, and then I'll put the clothes on and I'll be a guy now. And I thought, I don't want to be like, I want to be me. I want to find that place somewhere in the centre where the girl in me and the man in me, the male in me, could come together, and I can exist on a central plane for myself and be free to be myself. And I've kind of done that now.
So when do you feel this all came together?
It took a long time because society was so kind of, you know, finger wagging and little nudging and whatnot, you know, and so you don't want to be marginalised, you don't want to be patronised, you don't want to be seen to be a fool, and certainly not somebody else's fool, and so you kind of hide away, and of course you go slightly mad because it's not healthy. And about 8 years ago, I stepped off the edge of the abyss and went into deep and dark despair, and lost the plot, and was suffering paranoid delusions and all the rest of it, and couldn't find my way up, couldn't break the surface, couldn't get up to the surface at all, was locked in this kind of dreadful well of despair. And then I talked to my son on the phone, my oldest boy Linus, and he said, Dad, you've got to understand that we love you completely, absolutely. And we admire you and love you, and you know, it doesn't matter what you've done or where you've been or whatever has happened, you know, you are loved, and we care for you. And then I went for an evening with the PA that I had at the time, and there was a doctor there, and she was, you know, because I was still just trying to come out of this pit of despair. I couldn't find my way out because the world seemed to me to be completely corrupt and mad, and all I could see was the dark, nasty, evil side of humanity. And this doctor said, I understand, Richard, but you've got to understand that I work with people in the National Health Service who work their asses off all year, and they get their 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks break, and they don't go on holiday to somewhere in the sun and soak it up and all this. They go to Africa, and they work for nothing, and they go into little clinics and hospitals there, and give the best of their, you know, their achievement and their work, and change people's lives without banging a drum, without waving a flag. It's not for any kind of anything to come back to them. They just do it. And I suddenly became aware that I was shutting out the noble people in life, the good and the noble people, and I suddenly started to see that there was a lot of them in the world, and it helped me kind of like rationalise my own journey, my own stupid journey, downward spiral journey, and suddenly I broke the surface and was able to carry on with life.
So did that allow you to accept all of you and in a sense be free to be all of you?
I'm kind of free now. I'm allowed to dress the way I want to and go where I want to and be myself. I don't change. If I do put a frock on and a wig on, if I'm going out and, you know, in drag, I don't see it as drag. I just see it as me, you know. If I was well, I'm not going to mention the names of elderly actresses, but there's a lot of elderly actresses that we know are wearing a hairpiece. We know that. But we never say, oh, Joan, you're wearing a hairpiece, or, you know, we don't do it, do we? So you're looking great tonight, you know, because it's a kind of like a look, and they've affected the look for the evening, that's fine. And I kind of do the same thing, and I don't care anymore. If people don't like it, then truthfully, that's their problem, not mine, you know. I think it was, hang on, the actor, I don't remember his name, who played in Silence of the Lambs, the English actor.
Tony.
Yeah.
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. He said a great line. Someone said, what do you think of other people? He said, whatever other people think of me is none of my business. That's a nice way of looking at it, isn't it? Because it isn't really. What you think of me is none of my business. That's your impression. That's whatever you've got going on here, but it doesn't affect me at all because it's nothing to do with me. That's your impressions and your thoughts. You know.
So, do you feel, in the sense that the centre of the world is in you now, rather than it worrying about any outside world?
No, I feel maturity was never my strong suit. I never liked the grown-ups because I always saw blustering liars like Tony Blair and George Bush and others. The Houses of Parliament are full of cheats, thieves and liars. So I never really liked the grown-ups because I just see them as greedy people. But so maturity wasn't, as I say, my strong suit. But I feel more relaxed with myself, more at peace with myself, and I think I've become a nicer person as a result of that, because I'm no longer driven by trying to live up to other people's ideas of what I'm supposed to be, because it's what I am by default. I'm not going to go out there arrogantly and say, you're going to like me because this is the way. I just say, I'm me, I'll do what I want to do. Yes, I might look like, there's a fine line between exotic and pathetic, and I know I'm teetering that tightrope. I know that, but I don't care as long as kindness is the key. I used to think that love was the divine factor, but it's not. Love comes with too many kind of agendas. It comes wrapped up with too many people's different ideas. I mean, define love. We could go on for days, couldn't we? But define kindness is much easier, and kindness is part of the love equation. So if you would go into the love equation, it's that shape, and we went in and we plucked kindness out of that and left that over there, and we said, this is what's good. To be kind to each other, to go into a shop and smile at the person behind the counter who gets a load of crap coming in to their shop every day, drunks and ne'er-do-wells and people with going something else in their life, and they're kind of rude and they talk. But you just go in and you say, hello, how are you? You look nice today. And they go, and there's a little shift, a little tiny shift. And they say, thank you so much. And you go, bye-bye, darling. And off you go. Something happens in there, in that little interaction, which enriches our day. It's enriched their day, and it enriches your own day. And it really does work. I got my bus pass recently, and I was on a bus going towards Wandsworth, and it was full of ladies of colour from Africa with their coloured headbands and things sitting there, and it was a pretty full bus, and another lady of colour got in, and I think she might have been Barbadian or West Indies, certainly over that kind of way, and she got in, and I stood up and gave her my seat. In about 10-20 seconds, the dynamic in that bus changed. There was I could feel it, and it was so exhilarating. And I didn't do it for this, but that's what kindness does. You see, a little kindness like that. What it did was empower me, was to give me a feeling of well-being. Not only the lady that was sitting down, but all those other ladies who were sitting around there. And a white man got up for an elderly black lady, and suddenly the world wasn't quite as dark and doomy. They weren't quite as marginalised in a European white society, and it was just quite divine. It was lovely, and that's so you get paid back. Lovely old Indian saying, "The smile you send out returns to you," and that's that's fantastic, isn't it? And that's why it's kindness is the key.
How do you feel about Rocky Horror being something that's shifted perceptions and lives in terms of sexuality and femininity, and in some ways this radical, showing and revealing in a humorous and musical way?
I think the most important thing was Tim Curry, of course, our first Frankenfurter, who was absolutely splendid, as we all know. And when he came out and had that cloak on, and he went, "I'm just a sweet transvestite," and threw the cloak off, and he's standing there, and without apology, that was empowering, because there was no apology for it. Yes, here I am, and isn't it great, and we will never know how many of the people that we're in the midst of are secretly the same way, that can't do what I can do, because I'm in show business. I can go out the way I'm dressed, and because I'm in show business. But if I was a school headmaster, and it was suddenly revealed that I got a frock on a Friday night, Saturday night, I would lose my position. If I was the head of a banking facility, and I was discovered to be a cross-dresser, it all shifts for them. So there's lots and lots of people who hide what they are, because society has decided it has to be male-female, which is a nonsense, because we're all on the continuum between the male and the female. We all fall on the continuum, and so I'm very lucky in that sense, because I'm allowed, because I'm in show business, and that's kind of okay.
So, when you were growing up, did you have lots of brothers? Did you have sisters?
I have two brothers and a sister. I have a brother, sister, brother, me. It goes. Yeah.
And you're the youngest.
I'm the baby of the family. Yes.
Yes. And how was it for you to wear what you wanted then?
Well, I didn't. But I even the strange thing was I always did. And the weird thing is, when I finally said, I was in New Zealand and I was being interviewed, and I finally said, "Well, I am what do you call it? You can call it a transvestite, transsexual, transgender. You can call it what you like. I am this. It's what I am by default." And my mother was going, "No, he's not. No, he's not." And I go, "Yes, I am. I've been dealing with it all my life. Excuse me, this is not good news." But they didn't want to accept it, and even my brother was having a hard job, and yet I was watching videos from barbecues in his garden, when I was 50. I got a pair of dance tights on, got a little dance jacket, one of these things, tied up, earrings and makeup. And I'm at the barbecue, and when I finally said, I am, trying, and I'm going, no, look, wasn't it obvious? I mean, how many people were at that barbecue dressed in dance tights and a little dance wrap? Not many. I think, one. And makeup and jewellery. So I didn't quite understand why they were so surprised, when I finally said that's what I am. Yeah. But they all love me. And I'm allowed to wear a frock anywhere I want to go, truthfully, these days, even in New Zealand, anywhere I go. If I want to put a frock on, I do. And if I want to put a wig on, I do, or I don't. It doesn't really make any difference. And I don't suddenly change my voice and start to become, girly and kind of like... Because if I was a girl, I wouldn't want to be a stupid girl,
Exactly.
And if I was a girl, I'd want to dress exactly the same way I dress now. So what's the difference?
Exactly.
So it was interesting, and it has been an interesting journey.
So is it fun? Is it fun to play with both sides rather than?
I don't think I do. I just think I'm just me, and I go, what am I going to wear today? What's demanded of me today? If I was going to a funeral, I'd put a black suit on. Yeah. Because I don't want I don't want to compromise other people. I don't want to be there, and they go, "That wasn't, you didn't show any due respect." I need all that. They need that. I need that. We all need that. So but there are times when you go, "Oh, God, kick out the traces," and the truth of the matter is, you do go to a ball or a fundraiser or whatever it is, and I wear a frock along. It gives a lot of other people something to talk about the next day, doesn't it? Oh, and you've kind of like, you've brought a little bit of exoticism into that evening, and that's something for them to talk about, So I don't care at all. I feel as if I'm art.
You are art.
I'm art.
You are art, and actually
I'm walking art. On legs.
You are art on legs.
$1 million legs, I have to say.
$1 million legs.
Oh yeah.
Do you mean they're insured?
Well, they are, but only if I'm killed by an elephant falling from a block of flats.
Wow. That's spectacular. And Richard, what about, we talked about this before, but because obviously you're very in touch with your feminine side, and I talked to you about Rocky being, there's a lot of femininity in, dressing up and femininity and women being opened up in different ways. And I asked you about the femininity, and you told me that when you were growing up, you couldn't understand how half the world could get suppressed and half the world would want to suppress half the world. And
I don't know. To be born into a race of sentient beings is the greatest gift that can ever happen. To be given sentiency, to be born into, as I say, a race of sentient beings, is just phenomenal. A race of sentient beings that have given us mathematics, philosophy, art, design. To think today that we're constructing aircraft that will fly out into the small reaches of space and come down and land in Tokyo 2 hours after it's taken off from London. This is kind of wonderful. It is astonishingly wonderful, and to see all this madness still taking. Religion is the biggest problem on the planet. It's the hugest problem on the planet, because it's all they were bone shakers, bone rattlers. They're witch doctors. That's all priests, imams, and rabbis are. They're witch doctors. They're nothing to do with understanding our spiritual nature, uplifting our hearts, uplifting the kindness and joy inside of us, and uniting us as it's all about power and rules, and will stone you because you had sex with a man out of, that's human nature. Sex is primal, so we're going to bury you up to your waist in sand, and we're all going to stand around and throw stones at you because of some religious kind of bullshit. This is not right. This is obscenity. And it is our biggest problem. We are an evolved species. If we can't begin from that premise, I don't want to have a conversation about it. And we have to understand that we are an evolved species. If we don't believe that, it's pointless having any conversations on any other level, because we're stuffed. You're dealing with fantasy. To think that the world all began 5,000 years ago in a garden in Eden is a nonsense. Understand how it works for parable. And it works in the same way as Aesop's fables do. I understand that there's a story to be told here, that we became conscious, and that's what that's about. Genesis is about. It's trying to explain the leap from the dumb animal into a conscious being. And they try to rationalize it as if it happened, but it's a long period of time. We came out of Africa. Best guess, anyway. We came out of Africa about 70,000 years ago, 80,000 years, 70,000 years ago. That's the best guess. And surprise, surprise, the DNA trail tells us that we are all from the same family, all of us on the planet. We are all interrelated, and we all go back to this original tribe that came out of Africa. That's us. And I think that's kind of wonderful. The religion is a huge problem. And it's all about power. They knew that. That's why the Borgias became popes. Power. That's why Henry VIII took over the church. Changed the church from Catholicism into Anglicanism. Power, because they know they control the people. That's why bishops were made lords, because they control the people. Why else would you have a bone rattler kind of shim sham flim flam man? Telling us things. It's a nonsense. I think evolved man has a spiritual well, and it needs to be filled up on a daily basis. And I think that we've invented God, and it's a very good concept. And I think that the spiritual well that needs to be filled up is diminished and filled with our interaction with others. In other words, if I was to be completely unkind to you and berate you and diminish you, I would go home with still maybe the anger inside of me, and then a bit later on, deeply, deeply ashamed of my behaviour. an action, and I would know full well that what happened there has eaten away at my soul. It's just taken a bit, it's eaten it away. And all those nasty things we do eat away at our eternal soul. And every kindness we do helps knit up that little bit that we've eaten away. So whether there's life after death, I have no idea. I like to think that there might be. I'd love to be pure energy and light, travelling through time and space, seeing how the Big Bang worked. Is there such a truth in parallel universes? All that, wouldn't it be lovely if we just became pure light and energy, and we were able to zip through and see the entire universe and the world, and enjoy that, and bump into other sparks of energy. We go, hello, like you. Do you want to travel with me? Let's go and see how. Let's go and look at Mars. I don't know. 100,000 years ago. See whether there was water on that. That'd be cool, wouldn't it? Yeah, come on. Wouldn't that be lovely?
Do you think that is a part of you, Richard?
Right.
That is kind of quite galactic, because
Yeah.
Do you,
I'm just
with galaxies.
No,
and planets?
I am. We are an evolved species. We don't ask for the machinery we've got. We don't ask for that. You know, some people are given a Rolls Royce, and some people are given an old clapped up banger. That's true. You know, and but where we are is up here, and it's only synapses and energy and you know, and received information, memory. Without memory, we're lost. And putting and weighing up things and from memories, and putting you know, 2 and 2 together, making 5 occasionally, and building all that up. That's what we are. And if you have a loved one or someone you know that has become vegetative, it's very disturbing, because you say, where are they now? Where is that person now? Are they in some kind of limbo? Are they out there somewhere watching, unable to bring life back to this, or is it all up here, and are they just a vegetable? Which is a very disturbing thought, especially when we have affection for these people. So I do get a bit worried about that. But we didn't ask to be born male or female, did we? You didn't ask to be born a girl, neither, and I didn't be asked to be born whatever I am. And I didn't ask to be born, you know, grow to 5'9". I didn't ask to have blue eyes. All these are givens, and it's the same with our sexuality and whatnot. Because I meet so many gay girls with short cut hair, lovely open boyish faces, and you know, fierce intelligence in their eyes, and I see a transgender person. They say that they are a gay woman. I'm a gay woman. They don't see themselves as a transgender person, but they're going to, once they wear all men's clothes all the time and keep cutting their hair short, affecting a boyish look. I see a transgender person there. They're coming in from the other end of the spectrum from me, as opposed to, you know, come from the male side into the centre, and they come from the female side of the centre. I don't think that we should have any of these gay, lesbian, all these kind of areas. I just think we are human beings on the continuum somewhere, and we fall somewhere there. And some of us are male, and some of us are female, and some of us kind of like, you know, are lost in this other place. Yes.
Do you think that probably we had a time when we didn't put people in boxes? We just kind of.
Some societies have. Some societies, Samoa, for instance, if you have a girly boy, obviously a transgendered girly boy, born into your household, you are blessed.
Huh?
This is a blessing on your house, and they are allowed to grow up as girls, although they're males, but they're allowed to grow up and have a very special magical place in society as special people. So it is only social, isn't it? It's only societal. It's the laws. Yes. And once again, where do these laws come from? From the Old Testament, which is the basis of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. And it's these rules that come into play, and it's a nonsense. It's all about control. I guess once again, you know, if there's a weak link in your genetic tribal kind of journey here, you go, let's take that out because that's genetically weak. We don't want that carrying on. We need the strong genes. So in a primal tribal way, we see how it works, don't we? Keeping that down. I don't know how it works anymore.
So what's given you the courage, or did you feel
Courage.
Yes, the courage. You seem very courageous to have. When you really think about it, Rocky Horror came out in the 70s, and there's places in the world where you definitely couldn't show it, and you definitely couldn't even speak of.
There are places in the world where I would probably be beaten to death in the street even today. I know that.
Yeah.
In fact, my lovely daughter says, I was out the other night, Dad, and I squeezed her turn. This chap turned around to me and he said, "Your dad's a puff, and he's everything that's wrong in the world today." She said, I turned around and I decked him. And poof. And she said, "You see, Dad, you are the problem, you see. Global warming, European economic kind of problems. It's all down to you."
So, do you feel like you just are somebody that just brought through your creativity and your art, and there was just no optional, or do you feel it's been courageous to dare to be yourself?
No, I guess I push the envelope from time to time. Yes, I guess I do push the envelope, but I don't care. I keep saying, what are they going to do? Going to arrest me? What are you going to do? Send me to my room?
And what do you feel also about being part of human consciousness? What I mean by that is that when you've done a piece of work that's affected the world like you have, like Freud and Jung and soap opera and films and certain types of things affect the ether. They affect the consciousness and they change things. So as a result, you're part of world consciousness in that sense.
I do hope that I've made the climate a little warmer for people who are troubled like myself or were troubled like myself. I do hope that I've made it a little easier for people. Because it is a curse. It's not a blessing, it's a curse. However, if society said it was a blessing, then we would see it as a blessing. But it's not a curse. It's not in society because they don't. It's like nudge, nudge, giggle, giggle, and you go, why are you nudge, nudging and giggle, giggling? I'm the same person with the same kind of thought processes and the same ability to, put words together and form interesting sentences. Where are we coming from here? What's the deal? So if I've made it just a little easier for people to be themselves and less troubled with the hand that they were dealt, I'm very happy about that.
Brilliant. And may I ask you, where did you get your feelings about the spiritual pot and kindness? Were you brought up religiously, or was this just something that you've noticed and you've felt and you've connected to? I
was brought up in the Church of England, but I did used to go to convenient Sunday schools, sometimes the Methodist, sometimes the Baptist, and all that kind of thing. But mostly inside the Christian. Sometimes I used to get a mass for a long time, and I like bells and smells.
As an adult, a mass, or when you were a child?
I was in my 19, 20. I used to started to go to mass on a regular basis. But I lose the plot because I hear so many people, innocent, lovely people all around the world, people, members of the different three main religions too, who were troubled by these dreadful people that tell them the rules. Well, you get a woman in Yemen or Beirut or somewhere or other with her children. She's not interested. What she wants is to look after her children, love her children, bring them up, and have them free to be, decent human beings. And they're restricted by all this nonsense that goes on around them, and it's annoying. And these rules come from the Old Testament, come from it with these men, witch doctors basically. Once upon a time, there were witch doctors all over the world, from different communities, different cultures, and they had different gods for this and different. And then they centered it down to one god, and now we've got control. You mustn't worship that god. You've got to worship our God. When I hear people crying in the wilderness for God to intervene, to save their children or whatever, and answer comes there none, I don't like that. I don't like that a God can sit and watch us behaving in this way, committing such atrocities on a daily basis to each other. It's not right. It's annoying.
So do you believe in now a God or a power?
No, I believe that kindness is the key, and if we live our lives doing no harm, trying to live our lives the best way, if there truly is a God, we will be embraced. Doesn't matter whether you were a Catholic or a Jew or an Islamic fundamentalist. It makes no difference as long as you're living a kind life. If there is a God and he doesn't see that you've lived a kind, blameless life and embrace you and suffer the little children to come unto me, for such is the kingdom of heaven, that gentle kind of journey, if that's not true, I know we'd be part of it anyway. And it doesn't really matter, does it? I don't have to believe in God as long as you live your life in a Buddha, Christ-like manner, trying to do as little harm. We all fuck up. Don't get me wrong. We all fall by the wayside because we're human. And anger and sex are the primal drives of the human nature. They still, from our Stone Age beginnings, our animal beginnings, those are still there. Anger and sex, and. But so we do fall by the wayside. But as long as we live a life of I don't know, the kindness, basically, the best way we possibly can, do the best we can, and not be malicious and not be destroying, not want to hurt, then we are welcome in the kingdom of heaven if it exists. And if that's not true, I don't want to be there anyway. And so it doesn't really matter. Humanists, I think, follow this principle, don't they? They say there is no God, but we have to live an exemplary life the best we can, almost Christ-like, Buddha-like, because we're decent human beings, and that's what we will do. And there's a great deal to be pleased about that, because there's no altruism in it. It's not about I'm finding myself a seat in heaven. It's nothing to do with that. That's just because that they know that ennobles our human condition, to be kind, to be supportive, to help, to build a better world for other people. That's important. And that's really all there is to it, really. And when we go through that final door, it's either the big sleep, or someone come up and say, well, could have done a little better, Richard. I think I'm going to give you a B minus. A B plus would be one. Straight A's, that'd be kind. Oh, cool. No, but I don't know.
And Richard, obviously, because you're an artist and you put yourself out there, and you put lots of different work out there, you must have had kind of like a huge amount of applause and a huge amount of criticism and a huge amount of all kinds of different stuff in the mix. And I heard from someone else, he said, you're going to get half the people hate you, half the people love you, and you've got to like yourself, otherwise you just couldn't keep
It is
going,
difficult. And one of the things about it is interesting. You go and do a play, for instance, and they say they don't read the reviews. No, I never read the reviews, of course they do. That allows them to stay. But we do. And you get some good reviews, and you go, oh, that's nice, that's lovely. You don't go, woo! But when you get a bad review, I mean, if the euphoria was as great as the depression, but you don't. You keep your feet on the ground. You say, "Oh, that's nice. That's cool. I think I'm doing the right thing." You know, you don't get big-headed about it. But when you get the evil that comes in, and true evil, telling you, you know, I had no right to be on stage and blah blah blah. You know. The depression that follows that is unbearable.
Yes, yes.
The great thing about that is that I have had a lot of bad reviews over the years. I have some dreadful, dreadful times.
Yes.
But most of those people, where are they now? Oh, they're dead.
Oh, really?
And where am I? Oh, I'm alive. And where are they again? Oh, they're dead. And you go, okay, so, you know, the best revenge is outlive the bastards.
And do you ever like sometimes, you know, do you ever take it on board? Like, have you ever been called dangerous or like very strange kind of things, and you go, okay, I don't care, you know, give me your worst.
No. I was someone once labelled me as eccentric.
Yeah.
And I went, how wonderful is that? That's a license. That's a ticket.
Yes.
Now I can be anything I want because I'm eccentric. You know, it's not like he's not. Yeah, he's not. You know, he's eccentric, so he's allowed. Oh, he's a bit eccentric, isn't it? You go, isn't that nice? What a lovely card to hold. It's like a joker.
Yeah. Did you ever meet Quentin Crisp?
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I met him down in Brighton once. He wanted me to do a musical of that piece that he did with
Naked Civil Servant, John Hurt.
Yeah, and it wasn't the right time to do it actually. I don't know whether there's any mileage in it. I think he wanted to get another bite at the cherry, get some more money out of it. It's not a bad thought. It's not a bad thought. But it was a lovely little movie, wasn't it?
Oh, lovely
so
movie.
You know, maybe that's not right.
Yeah, and what about, Richard, love? You were saying before that really love's difficult to define, but we go for kindness. What about love in humanity and, you know, men, women, different people, all those different things?
I don't know. I don't know about all love, flower power love. No, that doesn't work. But when you fall in love with another human being, and it becomes intense and wonderful, I mean, nothing that gets much better than that. And I can see how that works. But once again, kindness has to be the linchpin. Has to be the linchpin. Because all the you know, the racing hormones and all that kind of stuff at the beginning of it all, you know, you can't wait to shag each other forever and all that kind of stuff. But that passes, doesn't it? And what you need is supportive partner in your life. That sometimes you can be the parent, sometimes you can be the child, and it, you know, so you're supportive, and you can listen to each other. You can debate with one another as opposed to arguing with one another. Someone comes up with an idea, and you go, okay, you know, but how about? Hang on. How about does, you know, and a little argument goes on and conversation takes place and enriches our lives. Well, that's all wonderful.
And do you have that, or would you like that?
I think it's a little too late for me now. I love being on my own. And it wouldn't be fair to anybody else to have me in my life, because it's, you know, they have their own needs and requirements, and they have their own expectations of what the man would want. You know, I mean, sometimes I've had relationship with gay men, but they actually want a real gay man in their life, as opposed to a tranny kind of person. They want a real gay man. In fact, they want a straight man in their life, but if it's you know, it's very strange. A straight gay man is what they want.
Yes.
You know, and women, you know, they go, yeah, we're quite attracted to it, it's very sexy and all the rest of it, you know, but actually they want a real man in bed with them, you see, as opposed to a tranny in bed with them. So it becomes very difficult. And I don't want to compromise. As I say, I never want to compromise anybody else, and certainly I don't want to compromise myself. So I like being on my own. I don't have to live, you know. And when you get to my age, which is very, very old, you know, you actually don't want to take your clothes off in front of anybody anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because the skin's a bit saggy. It's not.
You're kidding me. You look brilliant.
No, it's true. It's true. You become self-conscious about, you know, because when you're young, you don't give a shit. You because you're out there and you go, oh yeah, get the clothes off, I'm young, the skin's firm, and got some muscles, and go, ooh, rock and roll. You don't care because you're young and free and arrogant. And when you get old, you go, can we turn that light down a bit?
So if you were going to say, it seems like what you're saying to me is that you've reached a lovely place of peace and happiness and kindness and dressing up and having fun and going out and doing your creative things and still being creative. You're still doing lots of things. You're showing.
Well, I write a song occasionally.
Yeah, and your Rocky Horror's been turned into an opera in Japan.
An opera? Well, that's going a bit too far. No, not opera, but it's going to be done in Japan. Yeah. And the director does like to have a lot of drama on the stage. It's just kind of good. It's like for instance, if he was going to do Macbeth, the opening would be kind of like 300 people coming on stage and a rainstorm with real water coming in, all that kind of stuff. I'm actually kind of embellishing that slightly, but he has a larger kind of a bigger vision. Canvas, a bigger vision.
Yeah. So it sounds like if you're living a lovely life, and so what would you say to anybody who's maybe even just starting out and thinking, wow?
Every day, we've got to first of all work out what success is, because people think fame and fortune are success. Fame and fortune are whores. Fame and fortune will walk down the road with you for a little while, and you're going, hello, this is cool, and you look around and they've gone. And you're left alone, and we see many people have that little 5 minutes, they think it's going to go on forever, and suddenly it's all over for them, and they've got to get on with life. So fame and fortune are not signs of success. It's very nice to walk down the road with them for a little while. There's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what it's about. There's a lovely song called Nature Boy. Nat King Cole sang, there was a boy, a very strange enchanted boy, and though he travelled far and wide over land and sea, oh, very shy and sad of eye, very wise was he. And then one day, that magic day, he came my way. We stopped and spoke of many things, fools and kings, and he said to me, the greatest gift you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. That's success.
Wow.
If you're on your deathbed, and you're lying on your deathbed, and your hospital room or your room is empty, nobody's coming there, and you're lying, you've gained the fucking world, you've got all the power, you're lying there, rotting in this bed, and nobody loves you. You've had nothing. Or if you're lying in your bed and you've achieved very little in the way of fame and fortune, but you're surrounded by love. That's success. That's it.
Wow. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
That was so beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Wow.
No autographs.
So that really was the most beautiful man, Richard O'Brien, and I'm sure you could feel his lovely heart and his lovely intentions. I certainly could. And how he really is here to spread love. He is now very happily married, very happily living in New Zealand, and is a very generous and very kind person. So I hope that some of his words inspired you. They've inspired me. And please tune in to more podcasts.